I'm glad you made it here. Did you have a 2-hour delay this morning?
I did not have a 2-hour delay. Yesterday, I think I had a 2-hour delay. It was like
just
an
you.
ice rink in my car, or in my car. Well, in my car, too. I left the window down. So, yeah, it was...
Seriously?
Yeah, I did. I had like 2 inches of ice in my passenger side. The dog had his head out the window and forgot to put the window back up. So the dog's in the doghouse.
It's not the dog's fault.
The dog's in the Bucky's in the doghouse.
Is he trained usually to?
He does. He knows how to put the window down, and I let him do that until we get where we're going, and then I usually put it back up. But for some reason, Sunday night I didn't put it back up, and hence the 2 inches of ice in my car.
Well,
I'm getting rid of dogs.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not.
Another week where we're trying to actually play some sports here now and then. If we can get some of this weather out of the way, we'll see what happens there.
Yes.
But for now, you can catch up and just listen to us for a few minutes.
We can ramble with the best.
We can help you bide the time till
we'll get you through
some events going on.
Get those Packers in the Super Bowl yet.
There you go.
All right.
So we'll talk about all that on this week's episode of Extra Points. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Extra Points. I'm Eric Schmoldt, along with John Barry. We cover sports for the Gazette. And,
we do.
When we get a chance to, at least.
Yeah,
we
when
got
things aren't
sheets of ice and winter weather, and sometimes we don't get a lot of chances to do it, but
we caught a break today.
We did.
We did catch a break.
We're shooting this on Tuesday, and at least we've got a couple things still going on out there, and you can hopefully, maybe you'll have probably read about those by the time you're watching this, but we'll talk some high school stuff here in a second. But I think the topic on everybody's mind is still the Packers, 8 in a row and 1 win away from the Super Bowl, which seems kind of crazy.
I tell you what,
2 months ago we would have said you're nuts.
Well, one of the best games I've ever seen, and bar none. And obviously, I'm not a huge Packer fan, but I want them to do well. I want them to keep winning because it's good for the business and
it's good for friends around us.
Sells papers, and it's fun, obviously for the state of Wisconsin and that, because it keeps things more lively. But what a great game. I mean...
Well, I think they said, too, more people actually watched that game
than 20 years.
Game 7 of the World Series for the Cubs.
Yeah, and that's crazy.
Think about that. Especially because, it was probably 4 months ago now already that people were talking about, the ratings for the NFL are down. And, I mean, nobody's going to watch a World Series game more than a Game 7 involving the Cubs, probably, unless it also involved the Yankees or something like that.
And the fact that...
And this game, which was not even an NFC Championship game, drew more viewers.
Well, I think the cool thing was your wild card games have been such duds because they were all blowouts that your 2 games on Sunday, the Packer game followed by the Chiefs and Steelers were good games. I mean, down to the wire, entertaining, controversial, great plays, bad plays, questionable play calling, great play calling. I mean, it ran the gamut of everything you would expect from a really good playoff game. And I think Rodgers just cemented himself as, let's face it, he's going to go down as one of the top
5
quarterbacks of all time. And I think Dak Prescott, by the time he's done, has got a chance to be pretty special too. So, those in the first quarter when it was 14-3 and they were calling for Romo, get over it. I mean, they weren't behind 14-3 because of Dak Prescott.
Dak.
Or Dak Prescott, not Zach, yeah. And I mean, he just
Dak attack.
He was as good as Rodgers was until Rodgers made that ridiculous throw to Cook on third.
And the old draw it up in the dirt play call.
Basically, and then they showed Rodgers where he's like trying to keep his feet, telling Cook how to keep your feet in bounds, and just, Crosby makes it. They called timeout right before. He makes it again. It looked like he was going to go wide left, and it sent off a wild celebration in so many different places around the state that again, it's enjoy it, Packer fans, because number 12 is not always going to be there.
I guess the main thing going forward, and I guess it's the same thing it's been all year, so maybe at some point you just stop even really being concerned with who's out on the field, but all these injuries, it's just amazing, and now it's, I don't know, maybe Jordy can be back, Burnett got hurt. I mean, it just seems like every week you get a couple more to just tack on the list, but then the next week it doesn't seem to matter. Rodgers just makes something out of nothing, and the defense figures out a way to make a play or make a stop at least when it needs to, and they get the job done. So does it matter that all these injuries just keep piling and piling?
No,
and piling
I mean, in Montgomery, his stats weren't great. I mean, rushing the ball, but he got the 2 rushing touchdowns, and it's just, guys like Jared Cook, who really hadn't done much with the Packers. He goes over 100 yards, touchdown catch, and then makes the big play on a pretty athletic play for a big guy like that to be able to keep his feet in bounds and set up Crosby with a game winner when most, I think, felt like, 30 seconds left, third down, it's likely going to be overtime, and then who knows what's going to happen in overtime. But, it was a great game, and, Pittsburgh, Kansas City wasn't as exciting as Green Bay as far as the action, but the ending was certainly controversial with the holding call and the 2-point conversion, which when you look at the replay, it was well past the play being over, and I know you got to play to the whistle in that, but Travis Kelce said, that guy shouldn't even be allowed to work at Foot Locker. So,
well, Travis Kelce is kind of another.
Yeah, but then the whole Antonio Brown thing with the Facebook Live where Tomlin's talking to the team afterwards, and that's supposed to be like sacred ground where you just don't let that out of the locker room, what stays in the locker room, and calling the Patriots a bunch of words we can't say on this show, and saying
Sunday
that
was good.
Ready.
Sunday
it was just
day.
Entertaining. And
what do you think about the Falcons now, though? I think a team that they've put up the points. Obviously, the Packers saw them, and what was it, 42-41 the first time.
Yep.
But I think, too, their defense has been playing better. I think a lot of people around here, and probably even myself included, I just feel like you can't bet against Rodgers right now. I don't really care who they're going to play against. But at the same time, this Falcons team has proven, that they've got the parts, I think, to really make this another pretty exciting game.
They do, and they've got, certainly Julio Jones keeps hurting his toe, but he's still one of the premier wide receivers in the league, and Green Bay doesn't match up well with him, and certainly Coleman and Freeman are two good running backs that give them a pretty good combination. But again, if it's Aaron Rodgers versus Matty Ryan, I'll take Aaron Rodgers because, let's face it, Matt Ryan, yeah, he's got a couple of playoff wins. He played well against Seattle, but the rap on him has been he can't win the big one. And this is certainly the biggest game he'll ever play in. And, like I say.
Well, when they won that playoff game on Saturday, it seemed like, they were celebrating like they were already going to the Super Bowl. I think that's kind of shows how much they need some playoff victories, and they got one under their belt by beating Seattle, and they beat them pretty handily, really. And but I just think the Packers. I just don't know if there's a team I would pick them to lose against right now.
No,
I'm not even sure the Patriots right now.
And I guarantee you that Fox has a Super Bowl this year.
I don't know.
I don't remember. It's either Fox or NBC, one of those two probably. But they want Packers Patriots.
Who doesn't?
That would be Rodgers Brady. The hype for that would be incredible. They don't. The storylines for the Falcons, I'm sure, are there. But is that really what they want? No, that's not. But the ratings would be through the roof for Packers Patriots, and I just think it's going to come down to, it's indoors. Weather won't be a factor. I just like number 12. I just like Rodgers. He backs up what he says, and he just makes plays that you just don't think are normal, and they're not. Even Brady said, he goes, I love to watch him play because he says that he does things that I don't even think about doing. And that pass on third down or second down, whatever it might have been, when he found Cook, there's probably 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the league that would even think about making that throw, and Rodgers dials it in there like it was nothing and set up Crosby's game winner. So, Aaron's on his game, and I think high scoring again. I really do. I think it's
for sure.
I don't know what the over/under will be, but I bet it'll be in the 50s.
With the Packers depleted
secondary
with Julio Jones, I think I wouldn't be surprised if the first matchup was in the 40s. I don't think it would be a shock if it was there again.
Not at all. And it may come down to who has the ball last. And if it's number 12. Take my chances.
And Crosby, he's been
clutch.
Like they talked about over the weekend, he hasn't had to kick a ton of game winners, but
they wanted to run him out of town a few years ago too. So.
Well, run everybody out of town.
Run them all
Fire
out of town.
McCarthy, Capers.
Yeah, get rid of them all.
Did you see the story about these guys in Vegas? They started betting. They put $300 in and picked the Packers when they were 4-6 and said we're going to bet on them every week until either they lose or they win the Super Bowl.
I heard something about it.
So they've turned their $300 into like $28,000 by just betting the Packers to win every single week since they were 4-6.
Wow.
And they refuse to collect some of it. They just keep letting it all ride on the Packers.
Nice.
Apparently. I don't know if I believe that. I mean,
are those the same guys that started the petition to get rid of Buck and Aikman on Packer telecast?
They were probably the ones that started the Fire Dom Capers website.
Well,
I don't know. I don't know. I want to believe it because it's a pretty funny story.
It is funny.
I also think, man, if you've made $27,000 off these bets, you should probably take a little out and maybe keep some.
My guess is money's probably not a big,
maybe not.
not
even
if big problem for whoever's doing it.
I guess, but you're going to throw it all away.
I know. Well, hey, they go all the way through. You're in good shape.
You're going to probably turn it into 100 or something like that.
And I think, I honestly do think, I think Green Bay wins Sunday, and I think the Patriots handle.
Does that mean you're picking them on the Packer Green Bay page?
No, I'm not picking them. But I think they're going to win, and I think the Patriots handle Pittsburgh just because it's Belichick, and he'll find a way to shut down Bell and Brown, and they'll get some pressure on Roethlisberger, and I think you're going to see a Packers-Patriots Super Bowl, and it's going to be out of this world because the ratings will be incredible and the hype will be incredible.
Let's spend the second half of the show talking high school, I think.
All right.
I want to talk Badgers, but God, it seems like
they never
it's
play.
Like 6 days between every game they play, so there's barely anything new since the last time we saw.
No, other than I think they've snuck into first because Purdue lost, Michigan State lost. I think they're tied with Maryland or half a game behind Maryland.
Somewhere in there. They got Michigan tonight. We'll
Michigan,
catch up
Minnesota,
next week.
Maybe they'll
play
that's
another
their next
game.
4, so they should be okay.
Maybe by this time next week they'll actually have played another game,
right,
so we can have something to talk about. But,
I agree.
We told everybody we'd get you caught up a little bit on like some hockey things this week, so maybe we start there. I think you got a chance to see the Bluebirds this last week. Kyler Cobbs with a 4-goal game.
Huge game. You
kind of wrote about it. Maybe a team that's kind of catching its breath a little bit and getting back to where they maybe, they're going to have to prove it still a little bit more, but maybe getting to where they thought they were going to be when the season started.
Yeah, and I think when you talk to John Maurman, the head coach, he told you, it said, we've got to find an identity and we've got to figure out what guys belong on what lines and what defensemen we're going to get production out of, and I think they're starting to get that, and they're, hockey's a sport where spacing is so critical on the ice because if you jumble guys together, it just creates havoc, and the Bluebirds have started to spread the puck. Spacing on the ice is good, where they like to run their wheel play, where they go from one corner and rush it up ice to the other opposite side, and it's worked. And they've got playmakers with Ty Perkins and Nolan Frederick, Kyler Cobbs. Right there are 3 very good forwards that can not only score, but they can create, and they're playmakers. And, defensively they've gotten better, and Jack Bostad in goal is a guy that he's going to keep them in games. And I would say the last 2 weeks, and Maurman said the same thing, we've just collectively have gotten better as a unit. And, as you go into the second half of the season, they still got a chance to finish in the upper 2 or 3 of the Big 8, and then really their sectional's wide open. I mean, kind of like it was last year where they were 3 minutes away from getting to state. I think they're probably in the same position this year where they could easily make a run and get back to the Alliance Center.
They're about 500, about the midway point of the season,
yep.
And I think they'll try to look to just kind of keep some momentum rolling and build on that, headed toward that sectional. And I guess it's probably just a couple of weeks away.
Yeah,
it's right around the corner.
There, yeah.
Same thing kind of for the Fury. They've got a pretty good record. I think they've only lost 3 games all year, and I think they've proven once again, I think we talked about a little early on, but just that, they made it to state last year and they're kind of out to prove that it wasn't a fluke, and so far so good. Another team that's got a lot of different, they're running like 3 lines every night. You don't see that a lot in girls hockey, sometimes not even in boys hockey, where you can really be confident to run 3 lines like that, and they've held up to everything that anybody, I think, probably could have expected.
And I would agree. And the biggest take I got is got a chance to see them play about a couple of weeks ago, and just the strides and the level of play has gotten so much better in girls hockey in the last, I would say, 5-7 years. It's there's a lot of skill and a lot of talent, whereas before most of your teams probably had 1 or 2, maybe 1 line of decent kids, and the rest of them were maybe new to the sport or just weren't. But now, like you said, the Fury can go 2 or 3 lines deep. They don't have a big drop-off. And I think the one thing that hurts the Fury is, I think of your really good teams in the state, University School, DC Everest, is they've got that one stud player, that one player that's just scoring 4 or 5 goals a game because they get around girls and there's nobody there to stop them. And Janesville's got some very good, talented players, and I think they're going to have to rely on, a Henschler or a Burke or a Rundy or somebody like that to really pick it up once they get into the postseason and not carry the team, but certainly be a difference maker on the ice.
I think the other thing too with a lot of those programs those are the programs that have been around the longest for girls hockey, and you talk about the last 7 years or so. That's really all the Fury has been around for. So it went from, hey, there are a few girls that have played and want to get a team going. Let's bring our friends along, and they'll just learn the sport on the fly, to these girls now are the girls that saw those girls start the program and said, hey, that looks fun.
Let's start playing when we're in
young.
6th, 7th grade. Yeah.
And now it's to the point where these girls, when they get to high school, they've already played, and it's not.
And that's the whole thing. And that's the one thing I notice is the speed. It's just a much quicker game than it was, let's say, 10 years ago or 8 years ago, whatever it might be, because their skills are just better. They're skating quicker and faster, handling the puck better, and I think really goaltending has gotten better as well, where a lot of times your goalie was just seemed like they were just taking up space, but now they're athletic, they're moving, they're making plays, they're behind the net, they're stick handling, and it's cool to see, because I think it's a sport on the rise, and certainly when you go 30 miles north to Madison, and the number 1 women's team in the country is at the University of Wisconsin with Alexis Maurman playing there, and the girl from Williams Bay's playing there.
They got 15,000 at that game.
They sold out the Kohl Center. I mean, it's a sport on the rise, and it's fun to see. It's fun to watch.
On the hoop side of things, just real quick, we got the Craig boys. I guess the big story, because they're right there near the top of the Big 8, and depending on what happens after this, we shoot this today, they go play Beloit, and if they were to win that game, they'd be tied at the top of the Big 8 here with about 8 games to go. Just a team that is on would make it 7-game winning streak if they were to win, and I think playing really well. We talked about them a lot last week, so I don't really have to bounce too much into that, but just to keep an eye on them, because they got East again Friday, so there's 2 big games to really kind of see if you're going to set the stage to stay right up there with a Middleton and a Memorial and duke it out with those 2 right down to the end.
Yeah, and I think the thing with Craig is, we talked about it, they wanted to live and die by that 3, and with quick possessions, and Mike Miller said, guys, that's not how you win games. It starts defensively, and they've been very good on the defensive end the last 8-9 games, where they're holding opponents. Anytime you hold an opponent under 50 points, that's pretty good, and that's what the Cougars are doing consistently. And I think offensively, Adam Anhold's starting to assert himself down low. They're finding him in the post. He's going to the basket or kicking it back out, and they're just not coming down and shooting that quick 3, even though it might be open. They're making sure each possession counts, and I think when you look at Craig, that's a big reason why they've rattled off, I think, 6 in a row now?
6 now, yeah. Looking for
7
Tuesday
looking for 7 tonight. Yeah. So that's and again, that's another sectional that's wide open. I mean, there's not a dominant team in that sectional that the Cougars can't play with, and they're finally living up to the expectations I think that you and I thought they should have, and that is, with 5 starters back, you better be pretty good, and they're playing like it.
Shout out to Santrell Payton, got to 1,000 points on Saturday night, and also to the Beloit Turner team. I watched them beat McFarland on Friday handily. It looked really good. I can't wait to see that regional sectional play out. And we'll talk more about that in the coming weeks.
Quick shout, I think Alex Easterday went over 1,000.
He did. He went over 1,000 too.
So shout out to him as well.
And then on the girls' side of things, just real quick, both Craig and Parker playing against East this week, which is
handled
a big. The East won both of the first 2 matchups. Now the Janesville teams get them at home, so if you could find a way to get that win at home, it would be really big in terms of kind of getting into that top 3, top 4 range in the Big 8. And I think we talked, like I said, we talked a lot of basketball last week, but both girls teams, maybe they're not winning a lot of style points right now, but Craig's finding a way to win games. Parker took Verona to overtime the other night. Maybe it's not the highlight reel games, but they're finding a way to be there in the top half of the Big 8, and I think, and what we knew were going to be trying years, that's about all you could ask for.
Yeah, and I think right now the important thing for both those teams is neither one are likely going to win the Big 8 title, so you're playing for seeding, and seeding, it makes a big difference, especially for those 2. I mean, because they could be tight as far as where they're seeded in the postseason, and that extra home game a lot of times can make a big difference, because if you can get through the regionals and you get to that super sectional, it's a neutral court, and both teams have shown the ability to to play with any of the good teams. And I think that's the way you kind of look at it is, look, we're probably not going to win the Big 8 title, but let's work hard, let's get better, and let's gear up for the postseason.
Keep grinding.
Yes, keep grinding.
We'll get to some wrestling next week.
Yep.
I'll put that on your list. Make
Okay.
sure we got some good wrestling next week. And we'll catch you up with where these races kind of stand after, hopefully we play some games. We're hoping. We'll see. No rest for the wiki here in terms of this goofy weather, but hopefully it turns to rain and we can all just go back to our normal lives at least. Thanks to Dave Vaughn for shooting the show. Let us know what you thought of it by emailing us at sports@gazetteextra.com or leaving a review on YouTube or iTunes or a comment at gazetteextra.com. And we'll be back here to do it all again a week from today.
Yeah. Take care, everybody. Go Bucky.